I would be recording this on my phone with the good microphone. It's actually my older phone, not my newest one, but I can't find it. It's somewhere in the mess of this house. This house is a mess since I've started buying and reselling movies, CDs, and video games. And I gotta fix this. I gotta clean this mess. It gets worse and worse and worse. So I'm devoted to that. I don't do YouTube a whole lot now, as you've noticed. I don't get on here a whole lot. It's not because I don't want to. I still love YouTube. And I definitely appreciate all the people that have come to the channel and shared their thoughts with me through the years. It makes me sad that I can't devote time here like I used to. What also makes me sad is when I hear some bad news. I have bad news to share, which was actually broken to me from a couple of my subscribers, that one of the game chasers, Billy, has passed away. There's an actual update, a post from Jay, the other game chaser, and he says, "Hey guys, it's with a heavy heart and tear-filled eyes that I have to make this post. This afternoon, Billy lost his fight with cancer. A video is being made this weekend with more details. Please don't ask for additional information. Also keep in mind that this just happened and the family is in a grieving process. I know there's a lot of questions. Please let us have a moment and not slam people you know, we're as friends with questions, me included. We are getting a ton of messages, calls, text. It's overwhelming. Billy loves each and every one of you and appreciates the love and support you've given him. Post a pic you might have with him, change your profile pic, share a memory. Thank you for understanding." Now, if you know any history about me, several years back, starting I think I would say in 2019, late 2018, I became mostly well known on YouTube for being a fierce critic of, ironically, people like the Game Chasers. Metal Jesus, Angry Joe, stuff. And it just kind of happened. It just kind of happened, and, you know, I went with it. People kept asking and requesting for me to make uploads about several individuals, what I think about this. Is this here wrong that they're doing? What do you think about this? Is this funny? Isn't this strange or out there, or is there something going on here? You know, so I could tell you, most of the time, I would get so many requests. There were several requests for me to talk about all these different individuals, mostly for criticism, sometimes for telling me that, hey, this YouTube channel, they got it right. Hey, this YouTube channel, you know, they're really good. You should put some shine on them. And just, it became a bit overwhelming. And I really wasn't expecting so many people to kind of, you know, just flood the channel. And I did the best that I could. But looking back from where I am getting near the end of 2025, there were some regrets. There definitely was. And I'd always been a person that said, hey, I stick to believing what I believe. And I fiercely stick to anything I've ever said before. But, you know, looking back, I think I was a bit too critical of certain people. And partly, a lot of that, honestly, was because a lot of the people on the channel, a lot of the people that stopped by, kind of pushed me in a certain direction. And I stopped thinking about many of these individuals in a respect on YouTube as actual real human beings, as people like myself, and as more targets of criticism. And I don't know if that's the mark of a good critic or not. That's something that's up for debate. But in the past several years, I've thought to myself, well, what's the point of criticism? A big point of criticism is, of course, like to entertain, because I think everybody at some point has shared their thoughts on a game they didn't like, a movie they didn't like. But a lot of people are hesitant to share their thoughts on, you know, people's decisions and things that they didn't like. I just didn't have any qualms. I never did. So the same thing that made me such a great critic and such an entertaining critic years back is also a thing that maybe aspect of myself that I kind of regret. which is a lack of feeling, a lack of, well, I don't know, heart, humanity. Does that make sense? So then there's kind of like a conflict between, Radical Rick the entertainer and Radical Rick the actual person. And I've always kind of wanted there to be like the same person, but to be honest, I don't know. Many people even quoted like, Rick, I don't know what it is, man. You went soft, man. And I've never, outside of certain individuals and instances that really disgust me, I've never like been really legitimately angry at people. Like there's Daddy of Five who abuses kids, and there's Logan Paul who, well, a lot of things Logan Paul did on YouTube, specifically going into a forest and filming people that hung themselves. There's been a couple times, but at no time during my criticism of the Game Chasers did I ever think that honestly they were terrible people. Sometimes I even talked about how I have a couple things in common with Billy when he had that one upload talking about possibly moving on from game collecting, I think it was. I forget the title of it. But none of that is really important concerning this news. I just wanted to share because that's, part of my YouTube experience here. Part of my YouTube experience is tied to many YouTubers. That's just the way it is. Even looking back on early 2020, when there was people wrongly criticized, for instance, like 8-Bit Eric, who's a pal of the Game Chasers, for having a role in trying to get me off of YouTube, which, ironically, that was a person who there was a video of to where like he seemed just kind of stressed and sad about what was going to happen to me in 2020. And that shocked me. It truly freaking shocked me. Because the last thing I would expect from someone like that I had been critical of, is to actually, care at all about me or my channel. So, and I can't remember. It's been half a decade ago. I can't remember all the details of that. But that was kind of a bit of a turning point. And there's been many turning points in, my channel, my growth as a person, and my coming to terms with, at one point being, well, I don't want to really kind of go into that a whole lot more, but I feel like I just wanted to kind of go into my personal experience and how that relates to Game Chasers, where, most of the time I would talk about them was more of a critical slant. But now, since this news, I just kind of want to have a moment to actually ironically pay tribute to the person, Billy Chaser. Even though I'm not the guy to really probably do it, and I don't even know how to structure any kind of tribute to this person. But I feel like I want to say something. None of us are perfect as human beings at all. A lot of times we make poor decisions, poor choices. Lord knows I've made a lot of bad choices in my life. But the way you finish your life says a lot about you. And I'm not gonna lie, I got pretty sad when I saw Billy's last upload on his channel. He was in bed at the hospital and he had just gotten a brain biopsy. They had taken a piece of his brain away and he had a tumor, man. And I don't know the details of it, but that's what led to his passing. What really stuck out to me is the fact that here he is, basically dying. He's at the hospital. And he takes the time to update and tell people that there's a fake GoFundMe out there. There's a fake GoFundMe, man. And not to give any money to it. And it just strikes me as such an amazing thing to do, given your condition. And the fact that, like he took that time out to just give a shout out to his fans, man. And it says a lot to who he was as a person. There's only been one time I've been in the hospital for a surgery. So I've had a lucky life. And that was back in 2018. And I was stubborn. A lot of you know the story. I was stubborn. And I was at work and I almost killed over, hunched over from sharp stabbing pains to the right side of my stomach. And, I should have went to the hospital right there, but I was stubborn. I went home. I couldn't get any sleep. Then I had to have somebody take me to the hospital because I wasn't able to drive and the pain just wouldn't stop. And they said I almost had a burst of my appendix. There's a word for it. And they had to do emergency surgery. And in that time, I didn't know what to do with myself because I didn't know if I'd wake back up. This is the first time I'd ever been, put out for surgery. And I kept thinking about all the bad choices I made in life. I kept thinking about all my regrets. And I guess I sometimes forget promises I made to myself back in 2018 in directions to take my life. But sometimes we do that, right? We make promises to ourselves, but then, hey, if I just get through this, if I just get through that, I'll do this and that. And when I see something like this happen with Billy, I can't help but think that he had so many plans for the rest of his life. But now that's not the case. So many people will have tributes. Many people will share pictures with him, talk about, the love of the different games they have. There's a lot of stuff out there about just Billy's love for gaming and his love for his audience. And, there's nothing that can take away that. Even some criticism from people like me, that can't take away the fact that this guy, like I said, in his final moments on this earth, he had to reach out to his fans and he had to tell them just not to donate to a GoFundMe because it has nothing to do with him. I just can't say enough about how, I am surprised by that. And also I want to say that I feel for anyone close to him, his friends, his family, as I do anyone that loses someone, especially someone so suddenly like that. And the only other time I can think about where I had to say words like this was from, I think, D-Dave. But I think it's all I have to say. I know this is probably, to people close to and know the Game Chasers, not expected, but, we're all human beings. And the first thought that I had after hearing this was, I couldn't believe it. Because Billy is always someone that I had seen as a really strong person. I could tell he worked out a lot, he took care of himself. And when someone told me that he had passed away, I thought, it can't be. It can't be, So, that's all I have to say. And I can't do much of a tribute to the person, but the least I can do, at least on my YouTube channel, is I privated all my criticism of the Game Chasers. Just because I feel, and this was a question I was thinking about that someone brought up when they asked me, so Rick, what would you do if one person you criticized passed away? And I thought about that for a long time. And now we're at this moment, and my answer would be to respect the fact they're no longer on this planet, respect their memory, and private any critical uploads I had of that person, just out of respect for them and their family. And it's really all I can do in this moment. So, rest in peace, Billy.